Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As always, this is Rich doing another video on XRP. I hope everyone is having a great day today, wherever they may be in the world. We're going to talk about XRP, and I'll start with this from XRP Wins. Stellar founder Jed MBA breaks his silence on controversial XRP sales. If you're new to cryptocurrency, you may not know Jed MB, but you may know Stellar XLM. He was also a co-founder of the XRP ledger, had a ton of XRP, and he was selling it off through his taco stand. I just had to make that public. But many members of the community also think that Jed MB got away with it in the Ripple vs. SEC lawsuit. There is a lot of controversy surrounding this, and everyone views XLM as a fork of XRP. There was even a lawsuit about that, but it is 2025. The XRP has already been sold off, and the lawsuit has finally been resolved. So there's no reason to claim it's XRP versus XLM anymore. I'm going to give you the best advice I can give you. If you hold both cryptocurrencies, it's like double dipping on your investment, because when XRP runs, it usually takes XLM with it. They'll be working side by side in the new financial system, and Ripple, Stellar, and Jed just announced the other day that he's starting a space station, and Chris Larsen gave him the thumbs up. So why are the two communities fighting over nothing? Let's just move on. Comes from the March 2025 Hong Kong Monetary Authority document on DT in the financial sector. The consumer use case is also compelling, as 52% of retail banks surveyed plan to make adoption of consumer-facing instant payments a top priority in 2025. As I mentioned in the previous video, consumers want real-time payments, so banks want to be able to offer real-time payments, which is why there will be a lot of adoption throughout 2025, proves that financial institutions are moving to ISO, to embrace blockchain technology. So that's one way to onboard to the blockchain. This could lead to a lot of adoption as well. They begin using the blockchain first, then XRP in payments because Ripplet is great, but Ripplet and XRP are even better. Now they can use ISO to adopt blockchain and cryptocurrency. This comes from Rowan Exchange, and they used AI in this post after Ripple announced a DFSA license in the UAE last week. Here is how the setup works. Step 1. Sachs and his circle use their political and economic clout to cast doubt on XRP's role in the UAE's financial ecosystem, expecting regulatory concerns or risk assessments to mysteriously surface. Step 2. Promote Bitcoin as the safe and governmental-aligned digital asset for international settlements while discounting XRP's efficiency and liquidity. David Sachs showed up in the UAE yesterday for a meeting with the Sheet. I shared my suspicions with ChatGPT, and this is what they said. Benefits. Step 3 secures behind-the-scenes pledges from important UAE officials to sideline XRP and prioritize Bitcoin and major financial projects. And Step 4 controls the optics by presenting the meeting as a straightforward conversation about AI and crypto innovation, while secretly betting on a silent campaign against Ripple's adoption. Here are my honest thoughts on this. Perhaps David Sachs went there to approve XRP, or perhaps he went there to confirm that the US will use XRP to strengthen the US dollar. I'm not a fan of David Sachs at all. I believe he is a Bitcoin maxi at heart. However, Donald Trump wants to strengthen the US dollar, and since Bitcoin isn't doing that, and there is still a huge liquidity crisis in the US, XRP can solve it. Perhaps he went there to give the go-ahead rather than sideline XRP. Over the next few days, we'll have a better idea of why David Sachs was in the UAE, but for now, AI believes that there was some sort of setup going on, but occasionally AI is, although many people are still discussing Swift and Ripple XRP because of that post that was removed. Was it an early warning of what was to happen? In other words, did someone post something inappropriately too soon? We really don't know. I do know that Swift and Ripple are coming together, and Ripple strengthens Swift at first. Perhaps they don't use XRP, but I do think they will definitely Use it in the long run time because RippleNet is fantastic, but you know what makes it better? XRP Riplet has quick and inexpensive payments, but using XRP makes them even faster and cheaper in the beginning. I believe that a 3-digit XRP will emerge from Ripple and Swift combining, and that's where I see this going. Additionally, Ripple will undoubtedly take some business away from Swift as they prepare for a new financial system. Remember this blast from the past? This map gave you all the information you needed to understand what the new financial system was going to look like. You could see all the connections right there, but many of these maps were different because some were also tied to Casper, while others were tied to ADA. These maps were tied to cryptocurrencies that were supposed to be an alternative to XRP, but that didn't work out, and those cryptocurrencies eventually vanished. Nevertheless, this is how the network would appear, with everything connected and working together to keep the system operating around the clock, 12 days a year. Cryptocurrency that is a part of the new financial system, but you also need to tie in ADA Ripple, which quietly erases any references to CBDCs from its website following Trump's recent executive order banning them. Ripple has spent years creating blockchain solutions for financial institutions and governments. So why the abrupt change in possibilities? Everything XRP is aligning with U.S. policy, which is a sign of deeper collaboration and a change in strategy. Believe that the pivot occurred when Ripple met with Donald Trump in the summer of last year. He stated, "I'm going to run on a no CBDC campaign, and I'm going to make that a major announcement." They saw this coming and were already in sync with policymakers to avoid regulatory pushback. Is Ripple just adjusting to the new reality, or does this suggest closer coordination with the U.S. government? What is an alternative to a central bank digital currency that isn't issued by the Fed? RLUSD is issued by Ripple and is simply referred to as a stable coin. This makes it possible for Donald Trump to declare that we will have a digital dollar stablecoin instead of a central bank digital currency, which may have been the turning point. Now, outside of the U.S., CBDCs will still occur, and the U.S. will also have a digital dollar. They will have a digital currency, but it won't be issued by the Fed. Let's talk about tokenization in payments. The Fed and this map have changed over the past few years. Some CBDCs are scheduled to go live in 2025, and Ripple is still working with those countries. They are also working with a few other C countries in South America. Ripple just shifted its focus to the United States. Outside of the United States, you'll still have these central banks building out their CBDC on the XRP ledger, which has been going on for years. Since this is also happening, I have already told you several times that my bank has stated that they will be eliminating debit cards. Therefore, prior to tokenization, a user enters card information, such as the card number, CVV, expiration date, and payment processor. This information is sent to the merchant and payment processor at risk of being intercepted and stolen by hackers, and there are also card skimmers. With tokenization, the user enters card information only once, and it is securely stored because a token replaces the card number in all subsequent transactions, even if it is intercepted. Banks are already moving in this direction because tokens are useless outside of payment systems, meaning you have no exposure to actual card data. This is especially true of the larger banks that have already made announcements in this area, such as JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and Fidelity. I believe that any large bank will promote this narrative because tokenization is the reason BlackRock is here. They could not care less about what happens with Bitcoin, because they are here to transform the traditional financial system into the digital realm. But this is the path banks are taking and will continue to take, which is why tokenization will be a huge deal. Now let me quickly review this. Both men earn $80,000 annually, and the first man sticks to a budget, owns a modest house and car, takes annual family vacations, and saves a small amount for retirement with every paycheck. He also has an affordable mortgage. I can't tell you how much XRP you need to hold in order to retire, because everyone's lifestyle is different. There are some people in the XRP community who say that if I get 250K, I'm going to open a business and do what I've dreamed of doing my entire life, while others say that I'm broke. No debt, second man doesn't stick to a budget, lives in a luxury home, drives fancy cars, takes frequent vacations, and depends on Social Security for retirement. I can't tell you how much XRP you should be holding, because everyone's lifestyle in this area is different. If you think you need 10 million, you need to be holding a lot of XRP. If you need $500,000 or $1 million, you need much less XRP. That's what I'm telling you though, because you could reach those higher numbers without selling. Cashing out? I'm buying a mansion in Lambo and that's all I need to be happy. XRP. By generating passive income from your XRP and reinvesting some of the passive income. Housing defaults have increased dramatically, which is unlike anything we've seen in 10 years. The reason for this is that many people in these homes couldn't afford them in the first place. I personally know people who bought homes they couldn't afford, meaning they struggled to make ends meet while trying to pay off the mortgage because they overpaid for the home in the first place and purchased a home they didn't need. They could have purchased a smaller home, been more comfortable, and had real money in the bank. But this is about to happen. The housing market is about to undergo a significant reset, and you can already see it coming. By the time the reset occurs, you should already be wealthy from your XRP because I anticipate a significant run-up during the reset, because the market will already be aware of what's coming next. Even if it seems like everything is collapsing, the market will already be reflecting the ashes of a reset in the value of XRP and probably other cryptocurrencies as well. But I see a lot of people saying things like, I just want to buy my first house, I want to buy a piece of land, and your chance may coincide with XRP running up. And I have to play this clip is absolutely crazy. You know they want to create a major debt system for people in the United States. Every now and then, I come across something online that is so ridiculous that I have to read it several times. Make sure I truly saw what happened yesterday when I learned that DoorDash and CLA have partnered to allow DoorDash customers to pay for their food purchases over time. This is insane. To begin with, Perplexity informs us that the average DoorDash user spends $700 annually on the platform, which equates to 2 or 3 orders per month. If you have to finance $700 worth of purchases over the course of the year, you probably shouldn't be ordering food from delivery apps. Instead, go to the grocery store. When I saw this, I had to share it with everyone because it's a system that was made for people outside of cryptocurrency. You invest your money so that you can make a lot of money off of your investment. There are people out there who don't invest any money into anything. Instead, they spend it all on other things. They earn a living and live paycheck to paycheck. But they are using DoorDash to finance their dinners. That's where I draw the line. If people are truly doing this and paying interest on the dinners they are financing through DoorDash, we have a serious problem in the United States. But the government set an example for everyone here. It accumulates enormous debt, and the people do the same. However, if you ever notice what happens next, everyone searches for, it's like this. If people did the right thing, invested their money wisely, and budgeted their money wisely, and they didn't buy things they knew they couldn't afford, then they shouldn't have to be the ones bailing out people who didn't do the right thing in the first place. That's how I see it. But since we own XRP, we will become extremely wealthy in the future. The problem I see is that once we move into this new financial system, the big winners like XRP and the rest of these ISO cryptocurrencies will be years away from us because regulations will take away all of their value. Therefore, you need to plan ahead and make sure you're not buying things you can't afford. Otherwise, you'll be back here chasing the next big cryptocurrency. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and if you plan ahead and have a strategy, you might never have to work again after this cycle ends. Until then, though, remain patient and optimistic, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video and thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.